Arjun, I remember when we were discussing this topic outside this call, you mentioned a very specific term, and teleology, if I remember it correctly.
Yeah, yeah.
Would you care to explain a little about that? I'm very curious, and I'd like my people to know a little
Sure.
more about it.
Thank you. That's a great question. And the word is teleology. And so here it is. This goes to the root of success. And the root of success is actually is not achievement, it is fulfillment.
Okay.
So if you have $1 million in the bank, but you're unhappy, then there's no point in having that money because you're just, you aren't really successful if you're not happy. The quality of your life is determined by the quality of where you live emotionally. We all have a home. We have a physical home, but we also have an emotional home. And a lot of us spend a lot of time in the emotional home of anger, irritation, frustration, sadness, despair, guilt, envy, jealousy, overwhelmment, boredom, pessimism. And that's really unfortunate because then all the money in the world is of no use if you're not able to kind of feel fulfillment. And there are other people who spend most of their time in better homes, homes like appreciation, creativity, enjoyment, elation, joy, happiness, bliss, contribution, growth, and so on. Now, the word teleology, and I'm going to say the sentence and then I'm going to explain what teleology is. We are all teleological beings. We're all teleological beings. So I'm talking about human beings, but I'm going to explain it by first let's go to a basic life form, and that's called plants. Yeah, so plants and trees. And the word teleological means goal seeking or purpose seeking. Goal seeking or purpose seeking. So we are teleological beings. We are purpose seeking and goal seeking beings. And beings like plants, for example, when you keep a pot plant at the window, you will observe that it very naturally tilts towards the sunlight because a plant is teleological. A plant is goal seeking and it seeks nourishment, nutrition, and it seeks growth. A tree, question was asked, how tall will a tree grow? And the answer is a tree will grow as tall as it can because it is teleological. It is goal seeking, it is purpose seeking. And the goal and the purpose of a tree, a plant, is to become more, to expand to the fullest potential that it possibly can. And you and me and us, our viewers, have seen photographs or even seen physical trees that have grown through concrete walls because the tree wishes to express its teleology. Let's go to animal life now. Birds and animals are teleological beings, constantly seeking sustenance, nutrition, and development and growth for themselves. Therefore, animals gravitate towards grounds where they can hunt their prey or grazing grounds, and most importantly, towards water, because water now satisfies their teleology and they express themselves to their fullest extent and to their fullest potential. And how long will an animal live? An animal will live for as long as it can, as long as its physical body permits it to grow, as long as its environment permits it to grow. And it will seek environments that support its well-being, development, and growth. Now let's come to human beings. And human beings are also innately teleological beings. At our core, in our essence, we seek to be better than where we are. This is who we are in our core and in our essence. We seek to be physically healthier, psychologically more informed and aware, and if you want to take a spiritual angle, perhaps even more connected to divinity in whatever form that you consider that connection to be. Now, the difference between plants and animals on one side and human beings on the other side with regard to teleology is plants and animals just do it. They just expand to their maximum potential. The challenge with human beings is we human beings have been afforded the luxury of choice. And because we have been afforded the luxury of choice, very often we choose not to expand to our maximum potential or to our capacity. And therefore, we see people who, quote unquote, do not grow. And when I say do not grow in their careers, do not grow in their personal lives, do not grow in their health, do not grow in their hobbies, do not grow in their relationships with family, friends, and so on and so forth, and live relatively stagnant lives. During the COVID-19 coronavirus lockdown situation, many of the one-to-one sessions that I have had with people have caused the revelation to individuals that the root cause of disempowering emotions, and disempowering emotions are many of the emotions I stated earlier, whether it's depression, sadness, guilt, envy, jealousy, anger, aggression, irritation, frustration, and so forth, are caused because we do not allow the expression of our teleology. And this is not my idea. This is not Arjun Iyer who has created this. This is psychological research, and this is not even new research. People, psychologists, psychiatrists, psychoanalysts have known about this for decades, probably over 100 years now, that this is how we are wired as human beings. Our physical body also functions as teleology. At any given point in time, every second, approximately 1 million cells in your body and my body die, and 1 million brand new cells are being born. So birth and death takes place in our physical bodies every second at the rate of 1 million cells every second. And so we're constantly becoming, we're changing. So therefore, at a microscopic level, we are not nouns, we are verbs. There is constant motion, movement, change, improvement. And the new cells that are being born seek to be healthier than the old cells. Now we can support those new cells, and there are strategies to support it, which I'm hoping we can get into in our discussion either today and or as we go forward. Or we can go against that whole system by not supporting or going against the cells that want to. Now the cells want to be healthy. They want to replace your earlier cells with healthier cells. But we actually go against them or we go with them. And we do a lot of that by the way we think and our attitudes. So yeah, that's what teleology is. To me, it gets me very excited because when we talk about growth of an organization, remember that an organization can only grow when its people grow.
Yeah.
And its people grow when the leaders grow. And the leaders are people in positions of authority. Because they have the capacity to influence others. Now, you can either influence others using your authority or using example. And that takes us into another discussion on leadership. So I'm going to step back from that for a moment. But the key to growth is when the leader or leaders consciously grow themselves. And when they do this now, inspires by example others to grow. And also when you as leaders now allow the expression of your personal teleology and therefore through example duplicate your teleology or teleology into your teams, you will also start attracting people who are more teleological or people who are interested in giving expression to their teleology when you're hiring people. And so people with a growth-oriented mindset get attracted to other people who have a growth-oriented mindset. People who are with a stagnant mindset attract others with a stagnant mindset. So yeah, there you go.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Arj. That was quite fascinating. And so here I have my next question. I'd like to learn a little more about this. So if human beings are innately teleological, which means the power lies within all of us.
Yeah.
And by what you said, I understand that it really, because we have the luxury of choice, our choices determine whether we are being teleological in a certain situation or environment, or just going against it. And that could really mean the next step would either be success, or it could be failure, or I could be progressing, I could be going back. So it's a journey. It's not something that happens in a day. And in any journey, there are always ups and downs, and good and bad, and positive and negative experiences. And it's quite natural that people may end up losing motivation somewhere along the journey. And that could hold them back from attaining the success that they aspire to. So how do we overcome that fear, or that block, or that feeling of depression or dejection that could creep in at any point during this journey?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a great question. And so having self-confidence, for example, or motivation, positive thinking, a higher state of mind, emotional resilience, all of these are like muscles in the body. So, for example, let's say you, and I'm sure some of our viewers have had this experience, you've had an injury, and if you've, say, fractured an arm or leg, and your arm or leg is in a cast, and a doctor says that, hey, it's going to take about 3 to 6 weeks for your arm to heal because you've kind of damaged the bone there. And so you keep it in a cast and you don't use it too much. And then what happens when the cast comes out is the arm is actually weaker. And the arm is weaker because of atrophy. And atrophy is you haven't used that muscle for a period of 3, 4, 6 weeks. So when you don't use a muscle, you lose strength in it. This is how the body works. We all know that. Some of us have had illness where we've been bedridden or in hospital for a few days or sometimes even a few weeks. And when you come out, your body does not have the same muscle tonality as it did before you got sick. And it takes you a little bit of time to regain that physical strength. And we do it. And of course, we can regain it through exercise and physiotherapy and so on and so forth. The development of mental strength or emotional strength is no different. So now we have fear on one side, and fear is I'm scared of, or lack of confidence on one side. And no amount of working on fear or lack of confidence is going to reduce it. So I'm going to step back and then I'm going to come back into this room. And the room is full of darkness, and I asked the audience, I said, here's a question to you. How do you remove the darkness from this room? How do you remove the darkness? So, bring in the light. No. My question is, how do you remove the darkness? Well, you got to switch on the light. No. How do you remove? And then you say, hang on a second. I can't remove the darkness. I can bring in the light. So my focus is not on removing darkness. My focus is on bringing in the light. My focus is not on removing fear and lack of confidence. My focus is on building confidence and emotional stability and mental strength and thinking positive and motivation. So that's very, very important, because the more we focus on fear, the more fear will expand. The more I try to, if I get a bucket, if I get a pipe, if I get a vacuum cleaner, I cannot pull out the darkness from the room. I have to look towards the light and bring in the light. And in the presence of light, darkness does not exist. And therefore, we work on appreciation, confidence, self-image, self-empowerment, feeling good about yourself, motivation, purpose, goals, and so on and so forth. That's the area that we work on. Those are the muscles that we need to constantly build. When we make the building of those muscles a deliberate practice, the mental body, the emotional body now gets strong. So those of us who are listening to this, who regularly exercise in the gym or go running or do yoga or do breathing exercises or floor exercises or your brisk walking, you know that when you do that, your body gets stronger. You also know that when you stop doing that, you just watch TV and eat Cheetos all the time, your body gets weaker. So now we need to, if we choose to, if we want to, and in this new environment, we have no choice, but we have to develop mental and emotional strength. We've got to work on specific tools and strategies in order to enhance our emotional and mental strength. And when we do that consistently, and it doesn't take more than, sometimes you can do as little as 15 minutes a day, I generally encourage folks who are desirous of success to do an hour a day. I call it the hour of power.
Yeah.
And when I work with super achievers and top achievers, I say, you really want to be like among the top 5 in your field, do 2 hours a day. So, yeah.
Great. So Arjun, tell us what are some of these practical tools and techniques that people can use, practice on a daily basis,
Excellent.
at work, at home, that will, take them closer to what they aspire to achieve,
Yeah.
success, to organization success.
Yeah, fantastic. So here we go. Mind power. So we spoke about, so this a friend of mine is based in Singapore, which is a super successful country, economy. They're like a remarkable success. And that's a country that was ravaged after the Second World War and built itself up to a tremendous economic super miracle. And that's one of there are many others, but I'm just talking about Singapore. And someone said, Singapore was built on mind power more than manpower, which was interesting to me, right? I said, what do you mean? And he said that, of course, we've had a lot of manpower to build and construct and so forth. But what built the nation was mind power, and particularly a gentleman by the name of Lee Kuan Yew, who, as a leader, took the nation of Singapore to phenomenal success. And there's a great book written by Lee Kuan Yew. There are books written about Lee Kuan Yew. And majority of Lee Kuan Yew's strategy was how he thought, his psychology, and the process of his thinking that took the country of Singapore, that tiny little nation, to phenomenal success. In many ways, I reckon Dubai and the United Arab Emirates is a similar success story, starting way back from the times of Sheikh Rashid, and now moving forward to many of the leaders who are here today, who are taking this country forward to phenomenal success. So now let's talk about habit patterns, the workout routines of successful people. And this is done by millionaires and billionaires around the world. And these are people who've built fortunes, and also people who may not necessarily be financially rich, but are very fulfilled with what they're doing. Examples of many of these people could be a Mother Teresa or a Nelson Mandela, etc., who perhaps didn't pursue financial success, but pursued fulfillment. And number one, all these people were readers, all of them, unequivocally, undeniably. There probably isn't a successful or a fulfilled person on our planet who didn't get into the habit of reading good books. Now, reading is to the mind as food is to the body. So if you go and feed your body with junk food for breakfast and desserts for lunch and more junk food for dinner, no matter how genetically strong you are, eventually your body is going to give way, your energy levels are going to plummet, your biochemistry is going to be full of cortisol, which is the stress hormone, and you will be irritable, and your performance will be affected, your dreams will be limited. I'm not saying don't eat junk food at all, but I'm just using an example of an extreme where if you do that on a regular basis, your body is going to respond to the food you eat. When you eat a healthy diet, your body responds to the healthy diet. The consumption of good clean water, for example, you and I know that makes you feel physically more better, enhances your vitality. Nutrition is so essential for physical well-being. And if nutrition is so essential for physical well-being, why shouldn't mental nutrition be so essential for mental well-being? And the greatest nutrition for mental well-being is to read good books. And if you are not a reader, you can become one. You are not a tree, you can move. This is just a new habit that you can form. Just like you learn to tie your shoelaces one day, learn to use a fork and a knife, learn to speak language or use a computer or drive a car. Learning to develop the habit of reading good quality books. And today in the market, we are inundated with ebooks and physical books. And I'm surprised at the number of free ebooks that are available. You can do this even without spending money today. You can get a truckload of free ebooks that have to do with developing mental muscle. Now, all these books have been written by people who have developed their mental muscle, and all you're doing is copying their paradigms, following their systems, mimicking their patterns. And the moment you kind of start copying and mirroring and mimicking them, you now start becoming and start having mental muscle which is similar to their mental muscle. And today we're so lucky to be inundated with authors that have written on so many different positive topics, authors of different thought patterns and nationalities. You can choose. You don't have to stick to one particular type of book or author. But start. Read half a page. Goodness gracious, read a paragraph a day to start with. And you will get to a point. To me now, I do not start my day until I have read a minimum of 15 to 20 pages a day, and then I do another 30 to minutes to an hour of audio, video, and that's how I start my day. But that's like the number one tool, which is the mind food, the nutrition that you give to your mental self. And so there you go. That's number one.